All right, let's flip over to the other two matchups. We'll start with Clemson heading to Texas, a 12-5 game Saturday, 4 o'clock Eastern, over under 51.5 points. Um, Texas favored by 12. This is the biggest line, which makes sense. It's the 5-12 game. All the other ones are closer in seed. Winner gets Arizona State. And this is one that I kind of feel like people aren't talking about as much, in part because of the spread, in part because Clemson was a team that wasn't expected to make the college football playoff. They were a bid thief, ultimately. They were nowhere near as an at-large. And I think that they're kind of playing with house money. That's how I approach it. I felt that way with the ACC championship game as well. That 56-yard field goal at the end was one of the most consequential moments of the entire season for them to get here. And I do want to start with this, Joshua. Texas has been very good, and then they
Mhm.
have been not so good. There has
Mhm.
not been a lot in between. They have either Quinn Ewers is good or he's making mistakes. And then there's been some, obviously Arch Manning usage. They've used him in different packages. I would maybe use him a little bit differently, or maybe let him like kind of throw the ball a little bit. But I want to start with the run game because this is an area that got hit by injuries in the preseason. We
Yeah.
wondered if that was going to be a problem for Texas all along. It really wasn't, except in the games against Georgia. 31 rush yards in the SEC championship game, 29 in the first time that they lost to Georgia. That feels like it's going to be a problem at some point for Texas against the good teams. So I start there. Is Texas going to be able to run the ball against Clemson?
I'm not sure, right? Like I think we think about Clemson and we think about like Dabo not adapting to the new world, which he brought in a transfer, 6'5" wide receiver, by the way.
Yes.
Great get Dabo.
I'm proud of
And
him.
we kind of ask the question like, is it over? Regardless of what we think, this is still a top 5 talent composite roster. They've got guys up front who can cause issues to Texas and their offensive line and that running back room, which has gotten much better since we were talking about the injuries in the preseason. But like the personnel is the personnel there. So I do ask that question, does that become a problem for Texas? Now, the thing about Clemson defensively, they've given up a ton of points this year, right? So I do think Texas is going to be able to find their ways to move the football. Quinn Ewers is going to have to deliver. And he's been a little bit of a roller coaster. And I think he's at a spot right now where maybe he's in his head a little bit. But I think the points can be there. I just don't know. Like I have gotten to this where we've done it with Indiana. How good do we think they are? We've done it with Penn State. Who have they really played? Who have they beat? I'm fully there with Texas right now. I'm totally there. And I just feel like there's still this big game Dabo.
Mm-hmm.
He's won national titles. He won a conference championship. And I don't know how many of us really thought he was going to be able to get that done. And I think he's going to pull off the upset in this football game. Cade
Wow.
Klubnik has been phenomenal this year. The
So
numbers
like
that he's
outright,
put
like
up
you think they're going to
outright,
win the
they're
game?
winning the football game. I
Wow.
picked them
Okay.
to win this game. Cade Klubnik has been phenomenal. They're a big play offense, and Texas has a good defense that doesn't allow a ton of big plays. We don't know what happens in a game like this. I'm feeling it. I'm feeling Clemson right now to pull off the upset.
I told you, could talk myself into any upset
Yeah, yeah.
with these matchups right now because these teams are flawed and Texas is absolutely flawed. Also, turnover problem, 7 turnovers in the last 3 games, multiple turnovers in 5 of the last 7. I am with you that this could happen. And that is why the line feels really big. So I
It
will
does.
obviously take Clemson with the points. But it is fascinating. And I think there has been a lot of it, even maybe from Vegas, of this idea of the SEC and the ACC and Clemson not being very good and what happened to Georgia maybe in week 1. I think that one of these teams is playing with house money. The other one has been wildly inconsistent and has players that didn't win a CFP game last year. So I think they know what it takes, but they haven't actually done it yet. Where
Right.
again, Clemson, you have a lot of guys who haven't played in the CFP, but you got a coaching staff that has won national championships. That one's going to be sneaky good. I would be surprised if it ends up being a blowout like Vegas thinks it is.